first of all, my apologies because this is some old brochures from the old business, but we haven't had time to read around them as yet. It's with the marketing team at the moment. But I guess the reason why I wanted to go through this brochure and this is second slide shortly is that I find a lot of people don't actually know what a financial advisor does. And the next brochure that I'll go through talks about the advice process, which once again, often a lot of people don't know what the process is for a financial advisor. So I think this one shows it well in terms of what a financial advisor can do and the different life stages as well. But financial advice is about helping clients with their financial goals. But there's obviously different steps and things that can be done with those goals. So, younger years, you've got HECS debt, getting married, trying to get onto the property ladder, things like that. So, savings plans, helping clients to save for would be a common one. Budgeting and cash flow to help with that. When clients are starting a family, children, saving for education, once again, budgeting, writing a will, so talking about estate planning and so forth. That's really important when we've got kids. And then sort of moving through the steps, through the life stages. So, after a family, you might be starting to start planning for retirement and things like that. So, it's never too early to start planning for retirement, even if it seems a long way away. That with any planning, the earlier you can start planning for it, the better position you're going to be in. I think a lot of the time with financial advice, it's about helping you have a choice in the future, as we like to say. Sometimes, I have a goal of retiring at 60, but things can change over time. You might be good health, enjoying work, so that's absolutely fine. But planning for retirement at 60 can give you the choice that you can if you want to. That's what it's all about. So I think with our business at the moment, a lot of it is to do with wealth creation, through investing, cash flow management, budgeting, and retirement planning as well, which obviously superannuation can come into the mix with that, whether it's retail superannuation funds or even part of self-managed super funds. I'm not sure some of you may have heard of that. So, self-managed super funds can often be a good structure for self-employed people that have a business premises to run a business out. So I'll get through all the details of that, but we do a lot of self-managed super fund advice. So I guess for me, the way I can summarise financial advice is three areas: wealth creation, so cash flow management, budgeting, investment, superannuation, retirement. Then the other element is what we call your wealth protection. So with any good financial plan, protection strategy is really important too. So insuring yourself, in case of any misfortune. So things like life insurance, income protection, businesses such as business expense cover and things like that. So because no one's got a crystal ball, and so we insure our cars, we insure our homes, but often we don't think about it. That's the important thing, which is us. So protecting yourself helps protect the financial plan that you've got in place. And then the other element of it too, past that, is what I like to call your wealth transfer. So that's your estate planning, making sure you've got bills in place, some powers of attorney, beneficiaries of your super, making sure that you've got that set up properly. Because there's also going to be tax ramifications in terms of who you nominate on your beneficiaries from your super as well too. So the estate planning, there's some tax elements in there as well too that has to be considered. So that's sort of the three stages I look at in terms of a financial plan. But they're up there on the screen there. It's, I guess, the different things that people might want to achieve. Okay, and sometimes it might be you don't have to be looking at a full comprehensive plan all the time. But I think sometimes it's just step by step. Some clients might want to, they might be referred to me from the mortgage broker, and it might be just helping them with their super, or how to manage the money, or pay them their quicker, and protecting themselves from the insurance side of things. And then their needs might change over time, so they might come back. And others might start off with a more comprehensive plan, and we review that every year as well.
So can I ask a question about that then? Obviously, a comprehensive plan is a bigger investment, but there are options just to get some specific advice around things. Like, how does that work with the financial planning regulations and things that I know that financial planning is such a regulated industry, and planners now have to do so much more to meet those regulations. So, is there those regulations and rules allow for a smaller or more specific plan as well?
Yeah, they do, and I think in a way they're kind of pushing for it a little bit in some respects, because a full comprehensive plan looking at a whole range of different things, would cost more than a limited piece of advice. And one of the issues that government's trying to get around is obviously the affordability of financial advice, and making sure that more Australians can access financial advice, because it does make a difference, but it really just depends. Like, some things you have to recommend an automatic service arrangement, because situations can change on different things, and to make sure everything stays on track. But I guess I probably don't do it as much anymore. But if it's just an insurance only, just making sure the clients have the right insurance in place. That's just a piece of advice. There's some complexities around it in terms of knowing, what the tax implications are with claims and things like that. But that's one off sort of thing. We do offer reviews with that too, so we contact clients every year if they want to come in and review things.
And so, where along that timeline down the bottom, you find most of your clients tend to engage with you at that latter stages.
Yeah, it's interesting, because
obviously the sooner they can. So I know that in my own situation, I've always been able to earn good money, and I obviously understand numbers, but it doesn't mean I'm disciplined. In terms of having a plan, apart from that's why property and mortgages are great, because it's forced savings. But I know I could have done much better if I had been more disciplined and actually allocating some of my income to savings, and to I always paid off extra in my mortgage, but other than that, it really hasn't been that structured.
Well, it's interesting that the business has evolved over time. Like, it started off just reliant on referrals from mortgage brokers, and obviously as you grow, client referrals and things like that, you started where you might have developed the son of a helped the family, with insurance and super, maybe some cash flow management, but then they refer their parent to one sort of financial advisor, time and planning. So it's kind of there's been
or even vice versa, where you might start with a kind of planning, and they say, well, my kids need to,
that's right. So, but at the start was the younger clients,
right? Okay.
Because obviously being and then over time it's sort of, it's been more sort of people, maybe through 50s, they've started to plan for retirement. So so there's a bit of a shift there, but
so I would have thought most planning businesses that don't have a mortgage broker alliance probably attract the older clients first.
So we've started with the younger, it's shifted, but it's just the way it's evolved, really. But,
did you want me to split to the other one as well? Or? Unless there's any more questions on that. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
So this is the advice process that clients go through with us.
Yeah, thanks.
So the initial meeting is what we call the discovery meeting. So it's getting an understanding of the clients. You know, what do they want to achieve? Is there anything that they're struggling with? You know, putting that financial position out on the table, seeing if there's self-identifying clients, if there's anything else that they may need to be addressing. And yeah, just working out if there's the way we can work together as such. So a lot of it's to do with financial goals, even lifestyle goals, and getting an understanding of the current position if there's anything to struggle with. If they, you know, see at that point, you know, we're talking about fees, etc. Yeah, if they're happy to go ahead, there's obviously documentation and things that need to be signed to confirm. Once that's done, I then move on to the research phase, so the development of the financial plan. So this part, section 2, is probably the most time-consuming, I guess, in terms of the whole process, because, yeah, as Annie said, financial advice is very heavily regulated now. Not so post 10, 15 years ago, but it is now. And there's a lot of, yeah, so we do have to do a lot of extensive research in terms of existing products, show evidence that we've, yeah, not just recommending one product, yeah, that we've looked at a whole range of different options for clients, and so forth. So the financial plan, the best summary of it is, yeah, it's a written document that outlines what I'm recommending, you know, why I'm recommending it, and how it's going to benefit you, and really where we believe it's going to get you. Okay, so there's product advice, the strategy advice, and then we have projections and things like that, cash flow projections, wealth projections, to show, you know, where we think you're going to get to, and whether you're going to be able to meet your goals and objectives.
And tax considerations come into that. Yeah, is that
That's all
tax,
strategy, tax, yeah, how you manage your money, what's the best use of cash flow, you know, what super fund's the best product for you, the way it should be invested, how much insurance we believe you should have, you know, what insurance provider is the best, how to structure it, a whole range of different things there. Once the plan's developed, I don't just send it to clients and say, here you go, have a read of it, let me know what you think. I'll have a meeting, and that's that third step there. So I'll present the recommendations. But I don't go through it word for word because it can be 100-page document sometimes, but it's just going through the key points, allowing clients to ask any questions they might have, and yeah, just making sure that they understand it and, you know, that they're comfortable. So that presentation meeting will probably go for, you know, an hour to an hour and a half. We do encourage clients to go away and read it first too, just to make sure they're on top of it and come back with different questions. Once they are comfortable, they'll sign a document to say if they want to proceed, and we move on to the implementation phase. So our business there, sort of kind of see my role there as a bit of a project manager, myself and my team. So yeah, as an example, if we were recommending for a client to change super funds or something like that, we would fill in all the forms for them, and yeah, I'll run through what they're signing, of course, because they don't have to fill all these complicated forms in and things like that. So, and then we will obviously implement it on their behalf and sort of see it through, make sure it gets done properly and as efficiently as possible. So that's step 1 to 4 is like the initial advice part, and then step 5 is an ongoing advice arrangement. So we've got different packages for that, depending on, you know, I guess the complexity and how many touch points and so forth clients might need, you know, throughout the year. Sometimes packages can change depending on clients' needs, but yeah, at a minimum there'd be an annual meeting. I prefer to call them a progress meeting rather than a review meeting, because I think it's about are you still on track, and yeah, clients can contact us throughout the year if they've got any questions or, you know, whatever it might be. Yeah, we stay on top of rules and regulation changes. You know, keep an eye on the investments. If you want to make changes to any of them, obviously talk to clients before we do that, make sure they're comfortable, things like that. So yeah, it's just about the ongoing advice, or the ongoing service. It's all about making sure that the plan keeps working as optimally as it can, because everyone, as we know, people's situations can change. The legislation can change, all that type of thing. So just want to stay on top of all of that. So so that's certainly a valuable, or I think important part for a lot of people. So that's basically the process.
Questions for Tim? Any questions, Sam? Not sure if he's still there.
No questions. I'm still here.
So question, if someone thinks they know what they want to do, right, like someone that may or may not know, may or may not know for sure, how do you...
Are you talking about like something you want to achieve?
Yes, and a strategy to achieve it, but obviously I don't know all the ins and outs of, it's always just good to get someone else with a different perspective.
Yeah.
Does that get covered? Because you've got to give a comprehensive, you've got to look at like a
So there's I mean, part of the discovery is that we work together with clients to put down in writing a clear goal and objective. So what it is, it's got to be what it is, when they want to achieve it, and potentially what the amount is. So sometimes clients, they might not know that, and it's through the initial conversation, work together to come up with that. In your example there, Neil, in terms of if you've got an idea, I guess within the advice, it's a legal requirement that we actually have to show what we call alternative strategies that have been considered, and it's not just this is the strategy and that's what we've considered. So
plus you have to show that they were doing it for the client's best interests. So what you suggest might not actually be in the best interests.
Agree.
I mean, it might have merit, and probably a common one that we look at is maybe particularly for people who sort of still got a mortgage left. I've got to be careful here because this isn't advice. General advice morning. I'm not saying no.
So let's stop the recording.
But the whole, do you funnel your surplus cash flow onto the mortgage, or maybe do you use it to add to super? Because there's a tax advantages to that as well, and there's a point in time if you're retired that you can, if there's still a mortgage left over, to be able to use to pay that off. So that's sort of we often do sort of projections around what does it look like if you direct your money into the mortgage, or what does it look like?
Especially if you've got a great business, because some people say just pay down your mortgage first, but then that means you've got to pay some more out of your business and pay tax on that to do that, whereas you can use it for that.
So I'm not saying go ahead, but there's some alternative strategies. That's what we look at as part of it. So
plus they're not changing the rules on how much you can put into super.
That's right.
Thanks, Tim. I know we're just conscious of time. Is that right, timekeeper?
I was just have an open forum. Anyway.
Okay. I might just stop that. If we want to keep chatting about that, we can.
That was really good. It's very simple to understand.